What's up, Foundry? We hope you're having a great morning after Christmas with friends and family. We got a time of worship planned together. Mal and I are about to sing some songs. I'm going to share later on about the wise men, just kind of talk about the story of what does it mean for us to realize that God is promising us things. Got a special treat with Madeline singing some stuff later on, and we're going to have a fun time of worship together this morning. So go grab another cup of coffee, maybe get the leftover Christmas cookies you haven't ate yet.
Or the leftover Christmas dinner that you try and put into breakfast.
Oh, ooh.
Come on.
Ooh, no.
Oh, maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, totally. So, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept there watching, or silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The shepherds feared and trembled when low above the earth rang out the angel chorus that hailed our Savior's birth. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lowly manger, the humble Christ was born, and brought us God's salvation, that blessed Christmas morn. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
Oh, come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye, oh, come.
I hope you and your crew are having a fantastic, comfortable Christmas season together. It's a couple days after Christmas, but I hope you're comfortable right now. I hope you're in your pajamas. Hope you get your good coffee. Hope the tree is still lit, all of those things. When I was a kid, I remember Christmas morning was a little different because, growing up a pastor's kid in a church like I grew up in, we had folks drop by on Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, and they would bring like a smoked ham or some sausage bread or a lot of really fun things. And I appreciate it. I loved it. It was one of my favorite parts of Christmas, but it meant you had to keep your good pajamas on. And your good pajamas aren't necessarily your comfortable pajamas. And you also had to comb your hair. And nobody wants to comb their hair on Christmas morning. But we had unexpected visitors, and it was kind of part of our routine. And that's what I want to talk about this morning is I want us to talk about unexpected visitors. I'm going to read some scripture from Matthew chapter 2 real quick. This is what it says. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of King Herod. About that time, some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem asking, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." After this interview, the wise men went their way, and the star they had seen in the east guided them to Bethlehem. It went ahead of them, and it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with great joy. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasure chests, and they gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And when it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by another route, for God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. So let's set the situation up real quick. We have Jesus here, and a lot of times we think during these moments, we're thinking of, as it says in Talladega Nights, 6 pounds, 8 ounces, baby Jesus. That's not what's going on here. Most Bible commentators say that Jesus was probably a toddler. This is a few years down the road. In my house, we keep our wise men in the nativity scene from day one. But if we're going to be correct, wise men, a lot of folks don't put them in the nativity scene until a few days after Christmas. There's that song, The 12 Days of Christmas. That's not talking about 12 days leading up to Christmas. That's talking about the 12 days after Christmas. It's a church season called Epiphany, and you finish Epiphany celebrating the wise men showing up. So Jesus was probably a toddler when this happened. Joseph and Mary and Jesus and maybe even another brother or sister, they've been hanging out and living in Bethlehem for a couple of years because, it is Joseph's ancestral town. He might have found some great work or be hanging out with relatives, but they're there for some reason. And these strangers show up, these unexpected visitors. Now, we got to talk about these wise men a little bit because we sing songs like the Three Kings or this or this. These guys weren't exactly kings, but they were this weird group of people that for hundreds of years have been like in the middle of political intrigue, and it was kind of like a religion, and it was kind of like a political party. It was all sorts of things. If you go back to the story of Daniel, like Daniel in the lion's den, the sorcerers and the magicians that Nebuchadnezzar kept calling in, like those are these kinds of guys. They're king makers, if we're going to be honest about anything, and then they show up. And so you got to think about this. First, they show up with Herod. And Herod at this point in time is at the very end of his life, and he is absolutely terribly paranoid because he's an absolute terrible person. And so to have these magi who at that point in time were aligned with the Parthian Empire that was on the borders of Judea. Rome never had the power and strength to overcome the Parthians. And so there were these enemies, these people that were always right there. That's one reason that Judea mattered so much to Rome is they were a buffer zone. And Herod's father, and even Herod to a point, decades before had been involved in trying to get all of this stuff and were involving the Parthians. Because here's the thing. They show up to Herod saying, "We want to meet the new king of the Jews." Herod was the first king of the Jews in hundreds of years, and he got that way by political intrigue. He even killed some of his own sons because he was worried they were trying to take his throne. And at this point in time, Herod is literally rotting to death. And these guys show up and they're asking about where is the new king of the Jews. So the story picks up, they go to Mary and Joseph. And let's be honest here. These unexpected visitors are a little different, a little weird. Imagine this, you're at the house, Baby Jesus is like toddling around the front yard, playing with his wooden donkeys or whatever that toddlers played with back then. And this is more than a couple of folks. I mean, you don't go on a multi-year journey across the desert with like your best bro and that's it. We don't know how many of these folks are. We don't know how much stuff they had with them. I mean, at least there was one camel. And I don't know about you and your house and your backyard, but I don't have enough room for a camel, let alone like enough camels like this. It's just way too much. And they're also, I mean, Bethlehem is a smaller town. It's a poorer town. It's full of shepherds. When I was in college, I was at seminary, living in Kentucky. My grandfather died. I rented a car to drive back to the small Texas town where my mom's from for the funeral. And I rented a Dodge Charger. And this was right when the Charger first came out. And I drove home and I went to the Dairy Queen on the way to the house a couple days before the funeral. And when I got to the funeral, the whole town knew who I was because I had showed up in the new Dodge Charger. So imagine like the whole village of Bethlehem is coming out to check out these wise men, these magi, all the weird stuff. Like I told y'all a couple weeks ago, the wise men, it's a lot more like 300 than it is church Christmas pageant. But they show up and they begin worshiping Jesus. Now, worship is an interesting concept, and it's something specific's going on here with these unexpected visitors. You know, our word for worship now, it comes from the Old English word worthship, which gives us an idea of what's going on in worship. We're declaring the worth that Jesus is. The word liturgy, which we use from time to time, and fancier church traditions talk about a lot, means work of the people. So there is this intermingling of worship and work that's just, we're seeing this happen here. What's also interesting that helps us see this is these wise men have come to declare worth. Worship isn't as much about asking as it is telling. I'll say that again. Worship isn't as much about asking as it is telling. Asking is a private thing. Asking is a thing that's completely appropriate and should be done inside of our times of personal worship and devotion. Asking is where we ask God to intervene, where we talk about intercessing and praying for other people. Just all of those different levels of what goes on in our life. Telling is a public thing. It's when we tell God who He is, how good He is, what He has done for us, the ways we've seen Him come in and intervene in our lives, the way we declare who He is to us, the way we declare who He is to the entire world. And so these wise men are there bringing the worthiness to baby Jesus, declaring who He is. And remember, they're kingmakers. So them doing this is a subversive act in and of itself. They're probably doing holy stuff. They're called by God, the whole 9 yards. We also realize what these people showing up means because they've done this before in the past and shown up when they feel like they have prophecies of a baby. Like this is a normal thing for these guys. But here's the take home, and it's that worship thing, and it's the unexpected thing. Here's the take home. What if unexpected matters because what we expect isn't nearly big enough? What if unexpected matters because what we expect isn't nearly big enough? Nice and calm's not big enough. I think back to those moments when Christmas is done and you're just sitting there, or in that movie A Christmas Story when mom and dad are on the couch, they're drinking their coffee. The little brother Randy's asleep holding his Zeppelin, and they're looking around just kind of like sugar high and surrounded by stuff, and dad's like, Ralphie, there's something else behind that tree. Why don't you go look at that? Nice and calm isn't big enough, but unexpected and trusting and faithfulness many times is. What if our awareness is just to know God is going to intervene and do things, and that when we find things in that manner that are unexpected, our only job is to simply say yes and to step into this new reality that God has offered to us. So I hope to see you on January 2nd. We're doing Wesley's Covenant service. It's a great time at the beginning of every year where we celebrate what God has done. We recommit ourselves to God. We recommit ourselves to His mission. And we recommit Himself to our church. We got a fun take home for that Sunday, but I cannot wait to see you. Thanks you for hanging out and being part of our digital service today.
You could have come like a mighty storm, with all the strength of a hurricane. You could have come like a forest fire, with the power of heaven in your flame. But you came like a winter snow, quiet, soft, and slow, falling from the sky in the night to the earth below. You could have swept in like a tidal wave, or in an ocean to ravish our hearts. You could have come through like a roaring flood to wipe away the things we scar. But you came like a winter snow, quiet and soft and slow, falling from the sky in the night to the earth below. Oh no, your voice wasn't in a bush burning. Your voice wasn't in a rushing wind. It was still, it was small, it was hidden. No, you came like a winter snow, quiet and soft and slow, falling from the sky in the night to the earth below.